and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my TBR list for the month of November. So for the month of November, I only have a few books on my TBR list just because two of the books that I do have are of fairly decent size. So the first one I have is The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. Now I did start this in October for my Kingtober month and I did not finish it. So I'm going to be rolling it over to the month of November. Last night and the night before, Tommyknockers knocking at the door. I want to go out, don't know if I can because I'm so afraid of the Tommyknocker man. It begins with nothing more frightening than a nursery rhyme, yet in Stephen King's hands it becomes an unforgettable parable of dread and a threat from unimaginable darkness that drags the practical inhabitants of a New England village to a hell worse than their own most horrible nightmares and yours. It begins with a writer named Roberta Anderson. Looking for firewood in the forest that stretches behind her house, Bobby stumbles over 3 inches of metal, which unusually heavy spring runoff has left sticking out of the soil. A logger's beer can, she thinks at first, but the metal was as solid as a mother rock. It begins with Bobby's discovery of the ship in the earth, a ship buried for millions of years, yet still vibrating faintly, still humming with some sort of life. Faint, weak, but still better left alone. Bobby then begins to dig, tentatively at first, then compulsively, and is joined by her old friend and one-time lover, Jim Gardner. Aided by a weirdly advanced technology, their excavation proceeds apace. And as they uncover more and more of an artifact both familiar and so unbelievable it is almost beyond comprehension, the inhabitants of Haven start to change. There is the new hot water heater in Bobby's basement, a hot water heater that apparently runs on flashlight batteries. The vengeful housewife who learns of her husband's affair from a picture of Jesus on top of her TV, a picture that begins to talk. Not to mention the 10-year-old magician who makes his little brother disappear for real. The townspeople of Haven are being welded into one organic, homicidal, and fearsomely brilliant entity and fatal thrall of the Tommyknockers. In this riveting nightmare story, Stephen King has given us his tauntest, most terrifying novel to date. And the next time someone raps at your door, you may want to keep the chain on. It just might be the Tommyknocker man. So I am excited to read about this just because I'm kind of mildly obsessed with aliens. Don't come for me. So yeah, I'm like 130 some pages in, and it's really good so far. I just haven't had the time to sit down and really read it. Also, it is 558 pages, so this is going to take me a little bit to read. So the next book I have is The Briar King by Greg Keyes. Now, this was actually recommended to me by my husband, Daniel. So I am going to start kind of a segment within my YouTube channel called Dan's Picks. So this was requested by him for me to read. I actually got the book at the library, and I also have the audiobook, which I'm going to read along with the audiobook. I've never actually read an audiobook all the way through. I tend to kind of go off in my mind and not really pay attention to what I'm listening to. So I'm hoping to kind of get into audiobooks this way, being able to read along with the story as it's being read to me. So yeah, and Dan is definitely not a book person, so I take any of his recommendations to books very seriously because he's the kind of person, if they're not good, he's not going to read it. In the kingdom of Cronthony, 2 young girls play in the tangled garden of the sacred city of the dead. Fleeing an imaginary attacker, the girls, one of whom is the reckless young daughter of the king, discover the unknown crypt of the legendary ancestral queen, Virginia Dare. In the wilds of the forest, while investigating the slaughter of an innocent family, the king's halter, Aspar White, weaves his way through the maze of ancient willows and comes face to face with a monstrous beast found only in folktales and nightmares. Meanwhile, traveling the same road, a scholarly young priest begins an education in nature of evil, having festering just beneath the surface of seemingly peaceful land. The royal family itself comes under siege, facing betrayal that only sorcery could accomplish. Now, for three beautiful sisters, a young man suddenly made into a knight, and a woman in love with a roguish adventurer, a rising darkness appears, shattering what was once certain, familiar, and good. These destinies and more will be linked when malevolent forces walk the land. For Crothany, the most powerful nation in the world, is shaken at its core, and the Briar King, harbinger of death, has awakened from his slumber. So that's the Briar King. And then, if I get time, I'll probably get back into the House of Night series with Hidden. I think I only have 3 books left, not including the novellas, which I think I'm going to save for a reading challenge. I can't wait to be done with the House of Night. So Hidden, we have at last Zoe has what she wanted. The truth is out. Nephra evil has been exposed and the High Council is no longer on her side. But she's far from done wreaking havoc in the vampire world. First, a mysterious fire ravages the stables. Then Nephra makes a devastating move that will test them all. With the seeds of distrust sown and darkness breeding chaos at the House of Night, everyone must band together, but that's proving to be more difficult than ever before. The twins are barely speaking, and the House of Night former enemy, Kelowna, has now become their warrior, pushing their trust to the limit. To top it off, Zoe is pretty darn sure she might be losing her mind. She saw something when she looked at Aurorix through the seer stone that she can hardly explain to herself, let alone her friends. Is it possible that Heath has come back in a different form? Is that why Zoe's so intrigued by Aurorix when it's so obvious that he's dangerous? And who would believe her if she told them? Zoe knows that following her instinct that Aurorix might be what they need to defeat evil. But if she's wrong, it could cause the destruction of those closest to her. With tension at a breaking point and friendships on the line, can the nerd herd come together to stop the spread of darkness before it's too late? So yeah, if I can finish the House of Night as soon as possible, that would be great. Like I said, at this point, the House of Night is just, I want to know how it ends. I want to know how they finish it. It's not terrible, but it's not the greatest either. So that is my TBR list for the month of November. If I get to more, then I get to more. If not, I'm going to at least try and get these 3 books in for this month. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.